I think it's focusing on his life right now as opposed to being a professional football player. And we encourage him to do that. We're here to support him in any way that we can.
The true value of any draft is determined over time, how they perform once they get here. But coming into this week, being able to get 3 first-round talents after picking number 27 in the first round, can you talk about just how you positioned yourself and your ability to do that heading into this week?
Well, we certainly feel good about the guys that we drafted, and frankly, the guys that we signed as free agents as well. And this is an exciting time to see them out on the field. But one of the things that I think we do a very good job of as an organization, and we try to do as a coaching staff, is it really doesn't matter where you came from. And so we're going to try to evaluate with our eyes wide open, independent of when a player was drafted, what kind of status he has coming in. That really is irrelevant to us. And when we look back at our team, there are a number of guys who have been in this rookie minicamp as college free agents or unsigned guys, tryout guys who have made an impression on us and have made our team, contributed for our team. So we feel good about the guys we drafted. We feel good about what happened after the draft, the guys we signed. But now it's about they're part of us, and they're all competing for spots, and we're going to use our eyes and evaluate them to the best of our ability to put the best team together that we can.
Would you like? Obviously, it's one practice, and you've met these guys for a lot of the first time. But with Gregory, are there traits that just jump off the table immediately when you look at him on the field?
Yeah, like we talked right after the draft, he's a very talented pass rusher. We saw that on tape, and he, like with all the other guys, it's good to see him out on the field, and you see some of that athleticism that we saw on tape. Excited to see him in a Cowboy uniform doing our stuff and seeing how he responds. And these guys are all young. They're really young. And we were out on the practice field this morning for an hour, and we didn't even go against each other. The offense worked on one side, the defense worked on the other side. So we haven't seen them in a competitive situation against players across the ball yet. But it was good to see them move around. Every one of them has a long way to go. There's no question in my mind about that.
You brought in several undrafted wide receivers. What are you hoping to accomplish, bringing in so many of those guys?
Well, we just need the numbers. You need numbers all throughout the off-season program, and certainly when you get to training camp, and we didn't draft any. We lost Dwayne Harris, and so we just needed numbers in that position. So we signed 5 guys. Guys we had targeted, a couple of them were on our draft board, some other guys that we really like. So it'll be fun to see those guys compete for some spots, both as a receiver on offense and certainly in a special teams role as well.
You don't have do you have a return on this roster? I'm certainly you look at some of those guys. Are they return options? Missing Dwayne Harris.
Some of those guys did return in college, so we'll give them every opportunity. After practice today, we had some guys, 5 or 6 guys working, Coach Passaccia catching punts. So we'll continue to do that and see which guys handle that well, see which guys are comfortable doing it, and give them an opportunity as we go forward.
What do you like about George Farmer, the USC kid, coming out of college? Obviously, out of high school is a big time recruit. He didn't have a successful college career.
Yeah, highly regarded coming out of high school. Had a great career there. Played with some big time players. Went to USC as one of the best receivers in the country. And a lot of different things happened there. Got hurt a couple times. Some other guys kind of moved ahead of him, but he certainly has the physical traits. And so we knew about him a little bit. We were kind of tracking him and following him. And we thought it was a good idea. We actually brought him in for the 30 visit. Out at the stadium, so spent some time with him there and had an opportunity to get him in college free agency and took advantage of that. Good to see him out in the field today.
What intrigues you about Antoine Goodley?
Productive guy in college. Obviously, we know that program fairly well. We've had some success with some Baylor guys. Certainly, Terrence Williams, gives you a lot of confidence going back there for receivers. The kind of player he has been for us, and the kind of player we think he can be. And Goodley was someone who was productive in that system down there. A lot of positive reports from people at Baylor. Art Briles is someone we respect a great deal. So, wanted to get him in the fold and get him in that mix with those young guys.
How pleased do you think Rod is with the pieces you guys have added here defensively in the offseason and through the draft and free agency?
Oh, I'm sure he's happy in a lot of different ways. We did a good job evaluating college players, and we drafted 8 of them. We evaluated probably a couple hundred more. So our scouting staff did a great job evaluating these guys over the course of the last year or so, and our coaching staff got involved over the last couple months, and certainly Rod is a big part of that. And we We drafted 5 defensive players, and every one of those guys we liked. We had targeted in some way, shape, or form. So we felt like we knew them, excited to bring them in the fold, and excited to create some competition on our football team.
Does a guy like Tyler Patman make you open your eyes a little bit more to some of the workout guys, knowing that even though they didn't get signed, they can still elevate?
Yeah, it's great to have guys like that on your team, because we tell this to our players all the time, that it really doesn't matter where you came from, and it matters what you do now and going forward. And you know, he's a great example. Cole Beasley is a great example. Lance Dunbar is a great example. You know, try out guys and college free agents who make your team and have a role on your team. We can just point to those guys. Obviously, Tony Romo, the college free agent. So guys have come from a lot of different places, and we value that. We really we say that to ourselves over and over and over again as a staff and as an organization. Just use our eyes, evaluate them. It really matters what they do once they get here. And when you have examples like that on your team, I think that's good for your team.
How do you like to approach this mini camp? Do you start and build a little bit and give them more to leave with, or do you like to throw a lot at them and then kind of pare back and see how?
Well, we'll have a couple days of installation. It won't be the typical installation we give to our veteran players when it starts, but there'll be some version of that. And it's important to be able to process information. That's how it works. You give players information in a meeting, you show some tape, you walk through, then you go practice, and ultimately you're playing games. So that's an important part of the evaluation. Can the guy learn? Does he understand football? Can he learn at the pace that we want him to learn at? Having said that, we don't want to overload guys too much, and then you don't get a chance to see them play. Like I said, in the morning, we didn't even work against each other. We wanted to kind of get their football legs and their football feet underneath them a little bit. We'll do some more competitive stuff this afternoon, and they'll be responsible for that information we gave them this morning.
Last year, you guys were nickel 60% of the time. Why have you guys stockpiled so many linebackers this offseason through the draft and for free agency?
Well, linebacker position is a really important position in the National Football League. They're really the leaders of your defense, and we've had some injuries at that position, and we've played some guys over the last couple of years who you know, did a nice job for us, but you'd like to strengthen that position as much as you can, the starting caliber type players. And we recognize that the fact that teams in this league play with a third wide receiver a lot, and we play with a nickelback a lot. That's just the reality of it, so we value those positions as well, both on offense and defense. But typically 2 linebackers are playing for us, and we can rotate guys, you know, both in regular and in nickel defense at those positions that can help you. And so we want to create some competition at that spot, veteran players, young guys, and see who comes out the best.
Randy Gregory has certainly, Jason, said all the right things. What does he need to do to try and follow through on that and turn those words into action now?
Like everybody, just a day-by-day process that you go through, both on and off the field. And you know, words don't mean a whole lot, to be honest with you. It's what you do, and that's what we're going to look at. We're going to see what players do, both on the field and off the field. And we're going to try to help them every way that we can to be their best in both those areas.
On Collins, who wasn't able to be here, what do you give him, or if anything, to work on, or how do you handle that, giving him the information and going forward?
Well, he got an iPad, so he'll see some of the information that the players got this weekend, and you know, hopefully he'll be able to come back on Monday and just integrate himself back into the off-season program.
How much does the tenor of an off-season change when this stuff starts? That you got in the field earlier this week with your veterans, now these guys here. Does the pace pick up from a coaching standpoint as well?
Well, one of the great parts of our job is that there's so many different facets to it, and we really embrace the draft process and evaluating college players and evaluating players in free agency and understanding the importance of building your team with the right kind of guys. And so we take those evaluations very seriously. But in some ways, the draft is like a final exam. You spend a lot of time studying. You spend 3 days, you pick your guys, and then it's done. And in some ways, the weight's taken off your shoulders, and now you can really get to work and stuff that we love to do, which is coach football. So exciting to get these new guys in here. Exciting to get a chance to work with our new veteran players as well as the guys who have been here, and just get out on the grass and coach football and try to build a football team.
We're 11 minutes in. We get to ask you about the first-round pick. We've talked about a bunch of undrafted guys and second-round pick, and how strange is that to have that happen? And your thoughts on Jones?
Well, again, I just had a quick glimpse at him today. We're only out there for an hour, but it looks like he moves around pretty well. But he's like the rest of them. He has a long way to go. He has to understand what we're asking him to do, scheme standpoint, technical standpoint, how we practice, how we play. But he's a good kid. There's no question about that. He wants to be a great player. So excited to see him over the next few days.
2 years ago, you guys were kind of picking defensive linemen off the street. How much do you feel like the competition within the roster has been improved to the point that, you know, there really is, you know, a number of battles for roster spots at that position?
Well, that's what we're trying to create. We're trying to create competition really throughout our roster. The top part of our roster, the guys who are starting, and then on the way back, the backup players, the guys competing for spots on special teams. I just think that is what brings the best out in players and certainly helps our football team as much as anything else. So we're very thoughtful about the guys we draft, the guys we sign, the guys we bring in here, because we value that competition.